Hey, what's going on, guys? This is AndrewChicken, and welcome back to another video. As you guys know, I've been away for about a week doing IRL stuff. I rarely take breaks, but I had to take one here where I didn't stream and I just uploaded some pre-recorded videos. And of course, during that time, Evil Mojo decided, hey, why don't we just release the update notes and the PTS? I am barely in time to cover this now. We are on the tail end of the PTS as I record this, and yeah, this is a very, very spicy patch. This is the Banners Fall update, and it is here to introduce Season 7. There are a bunch of changes to gameplay systems, maps, as well as some really, really nice balance, which we will get into later. So yeah, without further ado, let's get started. So first of all, we have the brand new ranked season, and we have, well, the only new skin this patch. That's right. This is it. This is the skin. It's a really wicked skin, though. This is the Ultimatum Fernando skin. And this is a skin that is based off of the new look of Ares in Smite. Because, as you know, Smite and Paladins are both games developed by Hi-Rez Studios. Paladins actually shares a lot of its early original code with Smite, and some of the early characters from Paladins, like Fernando and Grover, are actually directly related to characters in Smite. You know, Fernando has the God of War skin, and Grover is just straight up from Smite. Like, literally, he's a Smite character. So, yeah, this is kind of paying homage to that, and also the fact that Smite 2 is coming out. And I guess, I don't know, this one has a splash art. I thought they stopped doing splash art. I don't know if this is taken from Smite or what, but it looks pretty cool. Sadly, I checked the PTS. It doesn't seem to be available on the PTS right now, so I can't show it to you in-game, but it looks really sick. So, super happy to see that. Legendary skin to grind for this season, and yeah, super stoked to get it. But yeah, there is some more stuff happening to Ranked. We have a new map rotation, and they are actually swapping out a lot of maps. So, out of rotation, we have Ascension Peak, Bright Marsh, Dawnforge, Frog Isle, and Shattered Desert. Which, I'm sad to see Ascension Peak and Bright Marsh go because those two are excellent maps, but no one will be sad that Dawnforge is leaving. And then in rotation we have Bazaar, Fish Market, Frozen Guard, Ice Mines, Jaguar Falls, Serpent Beach, Splitstone Quarry, Stone Keep, Timbermill, and Warder's Gate. So, I guess it's an okay map lineup this time around. We still have some bad maps in there like Fish Market and Frozen Guard, but we do have Jag Falls, Serpent Beach, Splitstone Quarry, Stone Keep, so that's pretty good. At least there's no Dawnforge, right? I feel like that's overthrown Timbermill as the most hated map in the game. Which, yeah, yikes. Also, in a completely different part of the patch notes, we have another update to Ranked, which is an update to matchmaking. So they have tightened the allowed rank gap in lobbies containing Diamond Plus players. So this is to make it so that there's less of a chance that a Diamond Plus player will be in the same match as, let's say, a Gold player, right? Because that's not really supposed to happen. And it was pretty bad matchmaking. We've had all sorts of matchmaking disasters over the past, 2 years. So, hopefully this will help. We'll just have to see if it actually does help once the season actually comes out. Now let's talk about some map updates, because we have quite a lot of stuff happening with the maps this update. So, the Onslaught map pool is getting 4 new additions. We're actually getting some siege maps fitted onto the Onslaught game mode. So we have Ascension Peak and Bazaar, both of which have been tested out previously, and yeah, they're just going to be an Onslaught now. And then also Bright Marsh is added to the Onslaught queue, although it'll be first tested in a limited time mode to see if people actually like it. And then Snowfall Junction used to be an Onslaught map way back in the day. They removed it from the queue, and now it's back. So, hey, 4 new maps in the Onslaught map pool. We're going to have a lot of diversity there now, which is really cool to see. And yeah, that's great. But also, they've added these maps to the custom map pool as well in the Onslaught queue, and they've added the 3 classic maps to the custom maps. So in the Siege map pool now for custom games in particular, you'll be able to select from the classic versions of Stone Keep, Timbermill, and Warder's Gate. And yeah, if we just pop on over to the custom games, you can see here, if we scroll down to the bottom of Siege, we have Warder's Gate Classic, Timbermill Classic, and Stone Keep Classic, so that is fantastic. And then in the Onslaught game mode, we have Ascension Peak, Bazaar, Bright Marsh, and all the way at the bottom here we have Snowfall Junction. So a lot of maps in Onslaught now. They basically doubled the amount of maps. That's fantastic. But wait, there's more! They have been busy with the map restorations. You guys know they've already restored quite a few maps. They restored the details on Bright Marsh, Primal Court recently, Snowfall Junction, and now they're doing 3 in one update. They're adding props back to Ascension Peak, Ice Mines, and Splitstone Quarry, and all 3 of these maps are going to feel just so much more alive. They were already, Ascension Peak and Splitstone Quarry, some of the prettiest maps in the game, and now they've just gotten even better. So that's fantastic. And also, they fixed the render distance on Greenwood Outpost, reverting a change that they made to it, because it was causing some problems on Switch. Switch has been out of the game for almost a year now, so yeah, you don't need to keep that change in. Super happy to see that. We also have some new limited time modes coming to the game. We have Capture the Flag coming to the game for the very first time. This is a fresh game mode as far as Paladins is concerned, although it's also a classic shooter experience that has been in many, many games before Paladins, but this is the first time we get to play it in Paladins, so that's pretty cool. And yeah, it's just classic Capture the Flag. You have to capture 3 flags on the classic version of Stone Keep. Players carrying the flag have a special ultimate that allows them to dash while holding it, but they're revealed to the entire enemy team and are locked out from the rest of their abilities. So this looks pretty fun. I can't wait to try it out. And then Survival is also coming back to the game. This is an old limited time mode from back in the day. It was actually kind of a core game mode in the same way as Payload, although it was significantly less popular. And this is basically like, it's kind of like a round-based battle royale, but on really small maps, if that makes sense. So you have what I think it's like 4 rounds, and you basically, once you die, you don't respawn until the next round. And so it's just kind of like the last one standing, right? Whichever team survives, they get a point, and then the round resets, and you do it again. And all the while, as long as the round is active, you have this fog on the outside of the map that slowly closes in and forces everyone to the center. So I played this mode back in the day. I wasn't a huge fan of it at the time, but I was also really bad at the game. So maybe I'll like this mode more now that it's coming back. I don't know. But it's cool to get to try it out again. This is an older mode coming back to Paladins, kind of like Payload. Although, again, it was significantly less popular than Payload, so I don't know how good this will actually be. But then, yeah, we have the Bright Marsh Onslaught mode coming in early April, and then we have the arcade mode coming back as well, which arcade is just the game mode, or the queue that has basically all the game modes inside of it apart from Siege. So arcade will have Onslaught, King of the Hill, Team Deathmatch, Payload, and it'll also have Survival. So you basically just, you queue, and you don't actually know what mode you're going to get. It's just going to be completely random. It's like having multi-queue, except it's just one queue. It's cool. Now, you remember when I said that we were only getting one skin this patch, and that was the Fernando skin? Yeah, I wasn't kidding. Unless they just forgot to list a skin in the patch notes, that's it. Because check this out. This is a Flashback event pass. So this is not a normal event pass. This is an event pass that's going to be bringing back some of the oldest Battle Pass skins. So this event pass will be revisiting the Remix and Battlesuit Battle Passes, and it will offer 5 of the exclusive skins from those themes, as well as many of the cosmetics players originally earned through those passes. So if you're a newer player who wasn't around at the time of this Battle Pass, or shoot, you could have been playing for a few years now and still not have been around for this Battle Pass, then you'll finally have a chance to get these skins. But yeah, there's no new skins. These are all old skins. So for us veteran players who already have these skins, yeah, there's basically no skins this patch, which I have to question how Evil Mojo is going to make money off of this update. I really do. But yeah, if you do buy this event pass, and you are a veteran player who already has all the skins, you will get actually more crystals than you spent on the event pass. It doesn't say how many you get here, but you spend 400 crystals on the event pass. I assume you'll get back something like, I don't know, 450, 500, something along those lines. So you can basically invest in it and get more crystals. But yeah, no new skins. Dang. Something much less disappointing than the lack of skins this update is the balance. Starting off with a pretty huge system change to the aim assist. So aim assist, as you guys know, is pretty darn strong in Paladins, particularly when you're using controller aim assist on PC, right? If you have a PC that can get up to 175 frame rate, or even higher if you uncap your frame rate, so it's something like 300, your aim assist just gets stronger. And yeah, PC aim assist players have aim that's, well, if you have at least a little bit of dexterity on the sticks, it's pretty much unmatched, right? When you're playing a hit scan like Koga, who is just, you know, no recoil, just laser people down. So, yeah, people have been complaining about it for a while, and it's been a pretty major problem. They are finally cracking down on aim assist. So check this out. They have reduced bullet magnetism for critical shots, which are headshots, right? On all hit scan weapon types. So fast-firing, short-ranged weapons, like Talus, Koga, and Lex, have been reduced by 25% at base, and at maximum. And I believe that maximum clause right there will apply more so to the high frame rate aim assist users than, you know, Timmy on his 60 FPS Xbox, right? So, yeah, that's a good change. And then all other weapon classes will just be reduced by 25% at base. So it will be a bit harder to aim on controller next patch, right? Once this patch reaches live servers. But, yeah, this has been a long time coming. So, super happy to finally see them address aim assist, because it's been a problem, especially when crossplay got added to ranked. And this will make things a lot more fair for pretty much everyone involved, hopefully. Because I know that even before crossplay, right, when it was strictly just controller versus other controllers, the team that had the most PC controllers basically ended up winning, I know a lot of people have told me. So, yeah. It's definitely a wonky system, and you know what? It's probably not a perfect solution, but at least they're trying, and they're making stuff happen, and that's what we like to see. Another excellent change that people have been asking for a year now has finally happened, and that is the removal of keywords. It's finally happening, ladies and gentlemen. It took them long enough, but they finally realized that, yeah, just wasn't a good system. It was causing balancing nightmares, and people have been complaining about it pretty much ever since their inception. They tried to experiment with it and tried to refine the system, but it just wasn't working. And so they are officially removing keywords. Now, it is going to be a bit of a slower rollout. They've only removed keywords for 2 champions, and those are Furia and Grohk. But the point is, they're getting removed now. We're going back to traditional support balance on these characters, and that is just perfect. It'll streamline the process, and it'll make balancing just better. And it'll also open up more flexibility to where, yeah, you can use talents the way you want to use talents instead of having a designated healing, damage, and hybrid talent, right? Because, yeah, especially I know for a character like Grover, before keywords, you could run Ferocity as the main support. You can't really do that now. And that's just one example of many. So, yeah, this is an excellent change, and hopefully Grover and Pip will get their keywords removed next patch, and they'll be purged from the game entirely. Won't that be fantastic? They're also trying to reduce the amount of visual clutter in the game by reducing the maximum size of hit markers by 50%, so it'll be easier to tell what's going on when you have a lot of hit markers on your screen all at the same time, which is pretty good, because this game can get a lot of visual clutter at times when you have a lot of spam going on, so yeah, it's a pretty nice change. Now, let's talk about some item balance, because, well, pretty much 4 items just got nerfed. So, armor plating has been reduced down to 7% per tier from 8%, so a little bit less effective, still a pretty strong item though. Arcane Warding also got a nerf, surprisingly. This went from 12% down to 10%, which does surprise me considering this item almost never got used. But yeah, this is also weaker now. Veteran also got a nerf, down to 6% per tier instead of 7% per tier. So in general, this trifecta of nerfs has the goal of bringing down the time to kill a little bit, because when these items got introduced in the item store rework, they made people ridiculously hard to kill. If you stack both armor plating and veteran on the same target, whew, you basically can't die. Like, it is really, it just turns the game into a pillow fight. So I'm glad to see these get nerfed somewhat, because they were pretty robust in their scaling. I like powerful items, but these were just making the game a little bit frustrating to play. But then also, Trigger Scent got a nerf. So this did get a buff to its scaling, from 5% up to 6%, so 18% at tier 3. However, it only affects weapon damage now, whereas before it would also affect your abilities, which I consider this to be a net nerf, because, well, now if you play a character who has a lot of ability damage, like Drogo's with his Fire Spit, or Androxus with his Reversal and his Punch, none of that will be affected by this item now. So, yeah, I don't know. Seems like kind of a weird change to me, although it does make sense from the perspective of, well, basically every other damage buff only applies to your weapons, so this one should too. But I think it does mean that it'll be a little bit less effective going forward. And also, I do have concerns about how this will affect the, I guess the damage reduction split up here. Because now I feel like there will be even less of a reason to pick Arcane Warding, but also even more of a reason to pick Armor Plating, because the scaling of Trigger Scent is now stronger for weapon damage. So you'll want to pick up Armor Plating even more, and you won't really even have a reason to pick up Arcane Warding, because Trigger Scent doesn't buff the damage of abilities. So I feel like it's even more lopsided in Armor Plating's favor now, especially again because Arcane Warding also just got nerfed, so yeah, I doubt you'll see Arcane Warding picked up at all this patch. Once in a blue moon, probably. Real quick before we get started, I do want to show off some changes to the shooting range that they didn't even put in the patch notes. Guys, what are you doing? You're selling yourself short. You did some extra work and you didn't even tell us about it. So in the shooting range now, you can see there are these new power-ups which help you to, yeah, just have a bit of an easier time testing things in the shooting range. We have a credit power-up here, so you can grab this and just gain credits. And this will help it. This will help you out in the sense of you no longer have to exit the shooting range to reset your credits, because basically if you run out of credits, you were kind of stuck. You'd either have to kill a bunch of enemies and farm credits like that, or you just have to reset the shooting range. Now you can just grab the credit power-up. That's pretty nice. And also, they have this cooldown power-up, so you can grab this and then just spam cooldowns, and it'll basically tick your cooldowns down faster. So, that's pretty nice as well. And then lastly, up here, we have this infinite ammo power-up. So this is right next to the aim trainer. You can just grab this, and then, yeah, you can basically shoot and never have to worry about reloading, which is really nice if you just want to train your aim and have fun with this little thing. Or just, I don't know, have infinite ammo and blast Fernando in the skull until he dies. I mean, do whatever you want with these new power-ups. But yeah, that's a pretty nice update to the shooting range. Anyways, now let's finally crack on with the balance. There are a lot of really awesome and exciting balance changes this patch. But this first one is not one of them. This is pretty boring. So, Azaan's card Flames of Wrath was one of the worst cards in the game, and probably still is one of the worst cards in the game. It increases the duration of the lift applied by Reckoning, and last patch it increased it by 50%. Or in other words, 1/8 of a second. Yeah, pretty tiny. Now, that duration has been doubled, from 50% to 100%. So if we max this out, we are now applying an additional half a second of duration of the lift on Reckoning. And if we just slap these two people here, yeah, it's noticeable. You can definitely tell the card is working now. And, well, is that worth it to run over his other cards? I don't know. Probably not. But at least it's not really as much of a throw pick anymore, or at least not as much as it used to be. Next up, we have two card changes to Atlas. The first one is to Lessons of the Past. This now has a 5-second duration instead of a 3-second duration. And what's interesting about this card that I actually didn't realize until I tested it out here in the shooting range is that it stacks on itself with Deja Vu. So if you hit multiple people, you get a very substantial shield. That just gave me 1500 shield health. So having that last for 5 seconds now will actually be pretty nice. It might be worth running in a Deja Vu build. Maybe. Possibly. I don't know. But yeah, it is better now this patch, so that's good to see. The second card rework is to Ravages of Time. This is actually, I would say, a bit of a weird rework, because the previous card allowed Atlas to gain 10% ultimate charge every time he got an elimination, which was a pretty interesting card, and it was cool for very niche playstyles. But now you basically can't do that anymore because it got reworked into a very generic card that gives 25% movement speed for 4 seconds after getting an elimination. I don't think the scaling on the movement speed is particularly interesting, considering other champions can get like 40%. Even other tanks, I believe Makoa's card scales up to 40% for 5 seconds. So this is a bit on the weak end. Barik got a really nice buff to the card Accelerator Field. This allows you to now grant a 50% movement speed buff to yourself and allies who pass through the barricade for 4 seconds, which they did nerf the duration by 1 second, but the potency of this card has been drastically increased. And just look at this. Put the shield down. Whee! For 4 seconds! That's pretty good. And if you use Fortify with maybe some Chronos, or shoot, you could, although I don't know if this is a great idea, but you could reduce the cooldown of Barricade with this cooldown card as well. You could get some pretty cool uptime on this movement speed buff. And this affects your teammates as well. So, yeah, this has always been a pretty fun idea for a card for Barik. And now it might actually be pretty viable. And also, by the way, I'd just like to point out, this is 50% movement speed for Barik and his allies just for passing through the shield, which is a reliable cooldown, for 4 seconds. Atlas's card that we just went over, 25% after getting elimination, so much harder to actually proc, and it's just for himself. Yeah. Something's a bit off there. It almost feels like they listened to my video where I was talking about how more impactful cards lead to more playstyle diversity and more fun loadout building, because they just keep buffing cards this patch. So many cards are getting buffed, and we have another one for Betty La Bomba. A Lost Realm just got doubled in its effectiveness. This used to increase the area of effect of all your explosions by 10%, now it's 20%, so yeah, look at that. Huge area of effect. I hit that Fernando with that cluster bomb, which was all the way over there. That is pretty huge. It's going to make her more annoying to fight against, for sure. But, yeah, stronger card. Yay! Now, Buck got a bit of a soft rework to the Bully card, which grants lifesteal after hitting net shot. This card now has a bit of a scaling nerf, from 60% down to 50%, but it's much, much, much more reliable. The old version of Bully made it so that you only got the lifesteal versus the target who actually got hit by the net shot. Now, it just provides the lifesteal after using net shot. So I can shoot the net shot into the wall and still get lifesteal versus this Ying, as you can see on the screen. So this is much more consistent now, and you can just slam the net shot into Fernando and then still get lifesteal on Ying, right? Much, much, much more consistent. But I guess the kind of sad thing about this card is that they also fixed the way it works with life rip and other sources of lifesteal. It now properly has diminishing returns. Before, this card and Pip's lifesteal card were basically the only lifesteal cards in the game that did not have diminishing returns with life rip for some reason. And it allowed them to have 100% plus lifesteal builds, which were very fun and silly to play with. Those are gone now, so if I buy life rip 3, and then we just get shot a little bit, you can see that we are not getting 100% lifesteal now. 685 on a shot that does 840 damage, so rest in peace, 100% lifesteal Buck. Dredge got 2 very silly card changes. So the first one is to gun deck. Previously, this just gave you increased maximum ammo. Now it provides that increased maximum ammo, and it increases your reload speed by up to 40%. So now, with no deft hands, I can just shoot like this. And we get that reload projectile much faster now. Which, by the way, reload speed buffs pair really well with the Scuttle talent, which causes the Abyssal reload to now explode. So just bear that in mind. But the even sillier card is Haul on the Bowline. This used to provide a movement speed buff after exiting shortcut. Now, it provides a reload speed increase up to 125% for 3 seconds after exiting a shortcut. It's not actually as good as it seems, because it seems like the Evil Mojo developers have forgotten how their own game works. There is a cap to how much reload speed you can have. It has its own weird version of diminishing returns, where it stacks additively on itself up until 60%. And 60% reload speed is the hard cutoff. You cannot exceed that, no matter what. And, yeah, this card just stops at 60%. So, yeah, again, look. Level 5, 125% reload speed. If we put down some shortcuts, and then go through like this, look at the reload speed. That's still really fast. But you'll notice, if we buy Deft Hands 3, that is the exact same reload speed. Look, it's the exact same. Let me go through a shortcut again, and then I'll just constantly spam reload. You won't be able to tell when the card expires because it's exactly the same. Look at this. In we go, reload, bam.
7 in a row.
It's the same.
It's a tripski.
So they forgot how their game works. So if this actually makes it into live servers like this, do not run this card at level 4 or level 5. If you want to run it at level 3, you can, because level 2 doesn't quite get you to the 60% cap. But anything above level 3 is a waste of loadout points. It's kind of funny. They're adding really high scaling cards, and I like that, but this one scales so high that you can actually end up wasting loadout points. Kind of funny to see. Fernando is eating so good this patch. So, I want you to guess what talent I'm playing right now. Oh, well, it's pretty obvious, Andrew. There's the blue resource meter on your screen. You're clearly playing Aegis. Look, you can hold the shield up, and then you can take the shield down, and then you can hold the shield up, and you can take the shield down, and it's Aegis. No. I'm playing Scorch. They finally did it. They added Aegis into base kit. Ah, yes. Instantly, all 3 of Fernando's talents are basically on a level playing field now, where, hey, you can play Scorch and still have really good protection from this shield. You can play Formidable and still have a really good protection from the shield. This is incredible, and it's kind of funny too, because I just made a video talking about Scorch potentially being a superior talent to run than Aegis, but also talking about, like, you know, why it's not actually run more than Aegis and what you could do to make it, you know, the meta talent for Fernando. I don't think I actually talked about making, or putting Aegis into base kit in that video, but I have talked about it definitely on my streams, and then lo and behold, here it is. So, yeah, this is an excellent change. Now, that does leave the question, what did they do to Aegis? Well, they buffed it. So, Aegis now causes Chivalry, which is the new name of the shield, to regenerate 25% sooner and 25% faster. You now only need 20% shield to activate Chivalry after it is broken, so basically just faster shielding. It's the talent you pick if you want maximum protection, and could potentially be a good point tank talent, but I think we're just in the Scorch meta now, baby, and this is awesome. I'm so happy to see this change. Now, Furia got a lot of changes this patch to basically try and fix her now that keywords have been removed on her. This poor champion, man, she cannot get a rest. It's good that keywords are gone for her, but yeah, it feels like every patch there's just like a page worth of changes for her. I wonder what she did to deserve this much scrutiny from the balance team. I mean, it feels like no other character has gotten this many balance changes in the past year. But yeah, first of all, Cherish now heals allies within 50 units of your target, just like Ceres does, which is excellent. And again, it's kind of funny. I just made a video about that, and I suggested the exact change, and then here it is. Of course, that video was after I was already away doing IRL stuff, and I'm sure they planned out the change long before that, but even I'm starting to kind of believe in the Mr. Paladins conspiracy now a little bit. This is just kind of silly. But it's a good change. I still don't know if it'll be worth it to pick Cherish over Solar Blessing this patch, especially because Solar Blessing also got a tremendous buff. Solar Blessing now heals for 175 per tick instead of 150, but also the major benefit of this talent now is you can finally self-heal with it. So check this out. Let's get shot by Cassie. Boom, boom, boom. And throw the beam out. Oh, look at that. That is just fantastic. That is absolutely amazing. She should have had that a long time ago. I'm super happy to see it now. And yeah, the one thing to note though is the beam does linger on your teammates for 1.5 seconds, as I'm sure you know by now, but it will not linger on Furia. So if you step out of the beam, you won't have that lingering effect. It is a little bit weaker self-healing than the healing you provide to your teammates. But this is still an excellent change to see. She also did get a buff to her base Kindle Soul, where it'll just heal for 1,000 now, which is back up to the pre-keyword value, I believe. And yeah, that's for all talents. So Exterminate is 1,000, Cherish is 1,000, Solar Blessing is 1,000. Perfect. Nice. And also, okay, she did get a nerf as well to her ultimate. They reduced the ultimate charge gain from healing and dealing damage by 15%, so it'll build up a little bit more slowly now. I think this will be fine. Furia's ult is one of those ultimates that you don't want to spam all the time. You want to save it for a big team fight. You want to save it for when your team is there and ready to push. It's one of those big, impactful, team-wide ultimates, kind of like a Fernando ultimate where honestly, it does deserve to have a slower charge rate because it's such a powerful ultimate. So I think that's fair enough. And then lastly, they did a card buff to Righteous Path, which is the card that previously gave her increased travel distance on Wings of Wrath. Now it provides increased movement speed up to 30% for 3 seconds on using Wings of Wrath. Is it better or worse? I don't know. One final thing I want to touch on though before we move on. Furia did not get her damage buffed, which is concerning to me, because when keywords were added, most of the keyword supports got nerfed in some way or another, in their healing, or their damage, or both. Furia got her healing nerfed, and she also got her damage nerfed to compensate for the fact that the keywords would bring them right back up. And, well, with this recent change from moving keywords, they buffed her healing back up, which is good. But they didn't buff her damage up, and that concerns me. Because it means that Exterminate's going to be doing a lot less damage this patch, Solar Blessing's going to be doing less damage this patch, but in general, her primary fire now is only doing 315 damage per shot, which is, the damage that Cherish was doing. And that's significantly worse than it was pre-keywords. And Furia is all about doing damage. One of the main reasons why you pick this character is because she has a high damage output alongside of her healing output. So, I think it's concerning that they haven't restored that damage, because I think she should have strong damage. That's the point of the character. And hopefully they'll add that at some point. Because, yeah, it strikes me as odd not setting the damage number back up. Because, yeah, she's just going to be doing less damage across the board now this patch, which is, yeah, weird. Next up, we have Grohk. Now, Grohk also got keywords removed. Thank goodness. But he's got some interesting balance changes as well, regarding his talents and also his base totems. So first of all, the healing totem has had its tick rate increased from 0.15 seconds to 0.1 seconds, which is actually a huge deal. It'll be healing a lot faster now, and overall will be pretty good healing across the board, and this affects every talent, so every talent has stronger totems now. However, they did end up nerfing Totemic Ward pretty hard. Obviously, they got rid of the keyword, but they also got rid of the increased bonus healing that the talent provided. So, yeah, the actual raw number now will be pretty low for the healing totems compared to what it was last patch on Totemic Ward. With the increased healing tick rate, though, I'm pretty sure that Totemic Ward is still doing a good amount of healing, if not slightly more healing than it was last patch. So, the healing should still be pretty fine on Totemic Ward. And also, Spirit's Domain got a pretty nice buff. So this now increases the movement speed of allies that you hit with the Lightning Staff by 20% for 1 second, and obviously it refreshes as long as you hit them with the staff. So that's a pretty nice change, playing into the utility of Grohk, and the fact that he is a movement speed buffer, right? He has the movement speed card on his totems, he provides movement speed with his ultimate, and now he provides movement speed on Spirit's Domain as well, so this is a nice buff. And they also increased the maximum ammo capacity to 25% on this talent. And then Maelstrom, they did increase the damage of Lightning Staff to 75. Previously it was 70. But the keyword being removed hurts Maelstrom a lot. This talent is generally doing far less damage than it was last patch, because the Shock Pulse is back down to 150 per bounce, and the Lightning Staff is still doing less damage than it was last patch. Because with keywords, it did 77 damage, and now it does 75 damage. So, yeah. Maelstrom is worse this patch, sadly. But, yeah, I mean, considering the DR split, the Shock Pulses don't get affected by DR anymore, so that's pretty nice, I guess. At least when it comes to, armor plating anyways, right? So, I don't know, might still be worth running, might not be. Grohk's in kind of a weird place right now, and once again, just like with Furia, they did not buff his damage back to pre-keyword levels. So, with these other two talents, Totemic Ward and Spirit's Domain, they're doing 65 damage with the staff. That's low. And yeah, considering keywords got removed, that means Totemic Ward is doing less damage this patch, which is not good at all. That's not what you want to see on Grohk. Grohk's another one of those characters where you pick him because he's able to do a lot of damage. So, yeah, I think he should at least be doing 70 damage on the staff. I don't know why they're not buffing the damage back to pre-keyword levels, but they definitely should be, I think. But yeah, overall, I think keywords being removed is a very positive change. They probably got to do a little bit more fine-tuning on these two characters. The Spirit's Domain buff is super nice to see, and yeah, those Grohk changes. Oh no, we're back to keywords! Ah! Grover, why? Grover got a talent rework to, well, one of the worst talents in the game, Deep Roots. Which, again, it's also funny. I just made a video talking about that, and then they changed Deep Roots. Okay, but no, that's not a Mr. Paladins one, because I suggested to buff the Deep Roots talent, right? Buff the healing, buff the range, fix it up, try and make that playstyle work. But instead what they've done is they've just flat out reworked it. And what they've done is they've basically restored the old version of Deep Roots, which is terrifying to me, because old Deep Roots was overpowered as crap, and they just brought it back. Okay, let's make the strongest support in the game even stronger, why not? So, Deep Roots now causes enemies hit by Crippling Throw to be rooted. It's so strong. It's so strong, right? Just throw it at the Pip, well, bam, he can't move. That's ludicrously strong to have on such a low cooldown, and also to have on such an easy ability to hit. That's why Deep Roots got reworked in the first place, to the crap version of Deep Roots that we've had for over a year now. And, well, the thing about this implementation of Deep Roots that they've brought back is that it no longer chains. Before, it chained. So you could hit multiple people with the root. The original version had it so that you rooted every person in the chain, which was disgustingly overpowered. Then they changed it so it didn't root everyone in the chain, it just crippled them or slowed them or whatever. Now there's just no chain. But having a single target root on such a low cooldown, especially with how strong Grover's base kit is, it terrifies me. I mean, this talent is going to be insanely strong, no doubt about that. We'll just have to see if it's too strong. I'm scared. I'm scared, man. I have PTSD. I have trauma from this talent. But yeah, Deep Roots is back on the menu. It's a good talent once again, no doubt about that. So, holy crap. Next up, we have a nice little rework to Imani, as well as some bug fixes that actually turn out to be pretty major buffs. So, Pyretic Momentum got put into base kit at level 3. This card caused Frostfire Glide to basically move faster, so I believe at level 3 that's 15% movement speed at base kit now. So yeah, Frostfire Glide is just faster. Hooray! And then also, this card got reworked to increase Frostfire Glide's turn rate by 50%. So now we can just fly, and we can turn nice and sharp now. Like, look at how quick that is. That is awesome. So, yeah, more mobility for Imani, that's great. But it gets even better, because check this out. The dragon got a massive bug fix. This no longer has fall off. Let's just get right up here and look at that. Max range doing full damage. Last patch that would have done like 50 damage. Back up to 170 now. Oh, that is so good. That is so good. The dragon was never meant to have fall off. That was a bug that lasted for over a year. Yeah, it's about time this got fixed, and that ends up being a massive buff for this ultimate. You might actually have to be afraid of the dragon now. So that is awesome. And remember, if you're dying to the dragon, I think Arcane Warding counters the dragon's damage, but also you can just buy Bulldozer and shoot the dragon down faster. Don't forget, Bulldozer does counter it, right? So, yeah. So happy to see that. That is such a great change. But also, there's another bug fix for Imani, specifically relating to Inferno Cannon. Sadly, at base, it's still ridiculously slow.
That's 5 in a
But
row.
it now is immune to knockbacks. Before, if you got hit by a knockback, it would basically root you. It had really weird physics with the momentum, and it was buggy, and not super good. Now, you just straight up can't be knockbacked. So, yeah, that's excellent. A lot cleaner mobility on the Inferno Cannon now. Koga got a bit of a description update, but also a buff to Adrenaline Junkie. First and foremost, his energy is now called Stamina. They've officially given a name to it. And he's supposed to have the word energy replaced with stamina on all of these talents and cards, but it looks like they haven't implemented that on the PTS yet, so yeah, still the old description here for Adrenaline Junkie. But the thing is, with Adrenaline Junkie, they have set the damage required to trigger the effect back down to 80. So you're back to the efficient energy generation with these SMGs, right? The catch is, well, you don't gain energy anymore by shooting shields. So you specifically have to shoot the actual enemies, right? If you shoot shields, you don't get anything. So, yeah, you can't just sit in the back, shoot shields, and then spam dashes, right? You have to be more careful with your target prioritization now, and it does encourage you to flank and get behind the shields a little bit more now. So, I think that's a pretty reasonable change. As you guys know, in the recent hotfix, Lex got gutted in terms of his heroism talent. It got destroyed, nuked into the ground. Hardest talent nerf I think we've seen in recent memory. Well, they're trying to rectify that a little bit by buffing up heroism, but still making it worse than it was before the hotfix. So, heroism has had its crowd control immunity restored. You can once again use this to block all sorts of crowd control effects. That's great. And they buffed the damage reduction up to 50%. It was previously 40%. Previously before that it was 90%, so we're still nowhere close to that value, but it is a lot of damage reduction. The catch is, this now increases the combat slide cooldown to 8 seconds. More than double the base cooldown. Whew, that is crazy. You are basically forced to use Wicked Don't Rest with this playstyle. You know, you were already using it anyways, but now you especially have to use it. And, yeah. Look at this cooldown. Whew, 8 seconds. And then if we shoot Ying, it still takes a long time to get it back. I mean, we basically have to use almost a full clip just to get the dash back. So it's a lot less spammable. But it is still very potent in terms of, yeah, it has the crowd control immunity back. It has some of the damage reduction back. You have to be very deliberate with how you use the dash now, and it does mean that this is now Lex's least mobile playstyle. And so, yeah. Is it worth it to run this talent now? I don't know. I try to think about Lex as little as possible. Next up, we have a small but impactful change to Makoa's card Harden. This reduces your damage taken by up to 25% after hitting an enemy with Dredge Anchor, and its duration has been doubled. It used to be 2 seconds, which was pretty small. Now it's a staggering 4 seconds, which is pretty awesome, so very nice buff to this card. Maldamba has gotten an interesting and possibly concerning change, which was meant to be a buff, but might actually end up being a nerf. So what am I talking about? Well, first of all, let's get the uncontroversial change out of the way. Slither travels a little bit farther now. 60 units now instead of 54. Hooray! And neither is this change. Possession has gotten a pretty massive buff from 4% scaling up to 5.5% scaling for a grand total of 27.5% damage reduction while healing an ally with Mending Spirits, which is insane. But here's where things get potentially problematic. Mending Spirits now heals twice as quickly. So basically, they increase the healing tick rate from 1/4 of a second over 4 seconds to 1/8 of a second over 2 seconds. So, yeah, look at this.
Stay in there.
That's pretty fast. And you know what? For the sake of making the heal burstier, that's pretty good. The point of this change was to make Maldamba heal more without making him heal more, right? They didn't want to buff the raw healing numbers. They just wanted to make the delivery faster. And just by itself, that's fine. That's a great change. But the problem lies with his cards. You see, Possession and Swift Spirits both have their duration directly tied to the duration of Mending Spirits, right? Possession has it so you reduce your damage taken while healing an ally with Mending Spirits. So once Mending Spirits expires, you don't get the damage reduction anymore. Same for Swift Spirits. It only applies the movement speed buff to allies while they're affected by Mending Spirits. By cutting the duration of Mending Spirits in half, you cut the duration of these cards in half. And especially, this really hurts Swift Spirits because Swift Spirits didn't get a buff to compensate. Possession did get a buff. So, it not having 100% uptime now, I guess is fine. But Swift Spirits just got a lot worse this patch as a result of this change. And that's sad. We don't need to be nerfing Maldamba, especially not such a great utility card. What they could do to fix this is very simple. Just disconnect the duration of these cards from the duration of Mending Spirits. Make it so they both last, I don't know, 3 seconds, which, you know, is the cooldown of Mending Spirits, so you could effectively have 100% uptime. Or 4 seconds, which was the previous duration of Mending Spirits. Either or. That's what I would do. But, yeah. That is, I guess, the hidden downside of this Maldamba change. Anyways, moving on, Nyx got a slight card nerf. Devastating Blows now has a range of 20 units instead of 25. This is the trigger distance of Realm Breaker's bonus damage. They just want Nyx to get a bit closer to her targets before she can get the bonus damage. Pip's Lifesteal card Acumen got the exact same treatment as Buck's Bully card. This has slightly reduced scaling, down to 40%. It scales properly with diminishing returns, sadly. And it is now much more reliable because you can just throw the Explosive Flask wherever and get the lifesteal, regardless of if you hit someone or not, and it is much, much more reliable. So, pretty cool change, and you know what? Even though I'm sad to see these 100% lifesteal builds go away, it does make sense because they were the only lifesteal effects that didn't scale properly with diminishing returns, and yeah, it was kind of just cheesy. Raum mains are eating so good this patch, and I know we said that last patch, and then they didn't actually follow through with the change. But this time, the change has actually been properly implemented, and this is pretty amazing. So they're actually going a different direction than they were going to do last patch, right? Previously, they were going to make it so his healing is just completely unaffected by anti-healing, which would have been ridiculously strong. Instead, though, they're doing something different, and there's one change in particular that's amazing. We'll save the best for last. Up first, some slightly more boring changes. Juggernaut now applies a 900 impulse knockback on hit. So basically you have the knock-up and the knockback, and enemies will go a bit farther now, which is cool, I guess. And this pairs with a nice buff to the card Declaration of War, which has had its scaling boosted from 4% to 7%, and it now applies to both the knock-up and the knockback. So this card, yeah, sends the enemies flying. Check this out. Whoop, bam! Oh my gosh. He goes so far away. That's actually pretty impactful. And considering the fact that Sentinel is what you use to counter knockbacks, and most people don't buy Sentinel, this can be some pretty reliable crowd control. So, pretty interesting. And then also, they have reworked War-Torn Plains. Previously, this decreased the time it takes to spool up your Hellfire Gatling. Now, it increases the time it takes to spin down the Hellfire Gatling. So yeah, you usually spool it up with Ignition. That's why the card was previously useless. Now, if I just stop shooting, yeah, it'll take longer to spool down, and we can more easily just maintain our maximum fire rate. Is it worth it to use this card? Still probably not. But yeah, those changes have been okay. What's all the fuss about? Well, it's time to get to the actual amazing change that people have been asking for a long time. Check this out. Enforcer. Gain 1.2 seconds of crowd control immunity while using Juggernaut. That's right. They finally added crowd control immunity to the Juggernaut when using the talent Enforcer. This is so good for the reliability of using this ability. Because yeah, for the longest time, it's been so easy to exploit Raum, right? When he's in that stationary wind-up phase, you can just hit him with a cripple or a root and stop him from running. Now, he is just going to, yeah, ignore all that crowd control while he's winding it up. You can see he glows yellow there. That's the crowd control immune phase. It is actively working here on the PTS. Look at that. You can still crowd control Raum while he's running, but while he's stationary, you cannot crowd control Raum. And so, yeah, he can still be stopped during his run. They just have to actually try a bit harder, because it's a lot harder to hit Raum while he's running as opposed to when he's stationary. But the real bread and butter of this new change, or I guess the real secret power of this, is the fact that you can use Juggernaut now to counterplay all the crowd control in the game. So if you see something like a Saris ult coming at you, you can just quickly, if you have fast reflexes, press the Juggernaut and completely block the Saris ult, or King Bomb, or whatever crowd control is heading your way, which is extremely powerful. Skye also got some incredible changes. First of all, she got a bit of a card reorganization. So, for the first time that I can remember, a card has switched categories. They took Slipaway out of the armor category and put it in the hidden category, and they took Emergency Exit out of the hidden category and put it in the armor category. So, yay. Emergency Exit is exactly the same. Literally nothing has changed about the card other than it's in a different spot now. But Slipaway has been reworked. this card used to make it so that you got increased movement speed while out of combat. Yeah, horrendously outdated card. Now, it causes Skye to heal for 7.5% of her maximum health every half a second while hidden. Basically like a miniature meditation while you're hidden. So yeah, we can just pop this, and you see the plus signs happen. And we can just get shot here, and you can see that healing. It's about 300 health a second, which is not anything crazy, but it's not bad either. It's very consistent.
We should spend my credits.
So, yeah, that's pretty nice. But the real excellent changes this patch to Skye are to her talents, because both Preparation and Smoke and Daggers got massive buffs. So Preparation has had its duration increased from 3 seconds to 4 seconds. That's great. It got its damage reduction reduced from 75% to 50%. Oh no, that's terrible. Except not really, it's still a lot of damage reduction, and the thing is, this talent now has 2 charges. That's right, 2 charges of hidden. This is pretty darn awesome. So we can grab this, and yeah, look at that, 2 charges on the bottom right.
I am
Go into hidden,
stealth.
50% damage reduction for 4 seconds, and then we can blast, 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 boom, there goes Fernando. Back into hidden we go. And then pop over here. And yeah, the charge was having its cooldown decrease while I was still in hidden there, so we got it back pretty quickly. And okay, now we have a bit of a lengthy cooldown. But you can get much better uptime on hidden now with Preparation, which was always the problem with this talent. It didn't have good uptime, because it had terrible duration, still had a long cooldown, there was just 1 charge of it. So this talent just got way better. Very awesome. Super happy to see it. But then Smoke and Dagger, I'm even more happy to see this change because it's reverting a mistake that happened years ago now at this point that should have never happened in the first place. Smoke and Dagger finally lets Skye be invisible again. This should have been fixed literally years ago. They removed the invisibility from Smoke and Dagger, because I guess it was too strong, and they just didn't restore it for the longest time. Even though Skye is so dependent on her invisibility, and it became instantly trash the second they removed that. Well, guess what? It's back now. I can literally just grab this talent, and wha-bam. I'm invisible! Yes! And also, they buffed the healing slightly from 100 per tick to 150 per tick, which is also pretty good. And bear in mind, that does stack with your loadout cards. So it will stack with Healing Vapors and Dissipate. Smoke and Dagger is back on the menu. This is now instantly went from being a trash talent to Skye, for Skye to being a really good talent for Skye, especially when you're playing in a coordinated group and you're using the Smoke and Daggers to your advantage. So all 3 of Skye's talents, I would say, instantly just became viable. That's awesome. Now, Strix got a very small buff to Crack Shot. The Sniper Rifle with Crack Shot had Fall Off. That's right, a sniper rifle. Had fall off. Yeah. No more. 900 damage, no matter what the range. No more fall off on Crack Shot. Simple as that. Yeah, makes sense to me. Especially considering the talent actively nerfs your damage by 25% before the enemies reduce it by a further 21% with armor plating. Yeah. This talent is still pretty bad, considering the amount of damage it does. But it is a fun playstyle that I know people enjoy just because it's fun to, like, use mechanically. Now, this is a very technical change that all 5 of the Terminus mains in my audience should hopefully appreciate. So, Terminus has long had a weird quirk, where he actually has more range on his Massacre Axe when walking backwards, as opposed to walking forwards. Uh-oh, my sound has broken in the shooting range. Okay. But, yeah, it was because of some weird ways in which the data was stored for Terminus where, yeah, it just wasn't registering properly. That has been fixed. So now the range is consistent no matter which direction you're moving in. And, yeah, it just feels a lot more fluid, and it feels better to play Terminus here. He's going to be much more consistent with his damage. He's going to have much better range now, compared to what it used to be when he was just holding W at people. This is a great change, even though I feel like most people didn't even realize it was a thing in the first place. Torvald, one of the strongest tanks in the game, got a nerf. Hooray! No, not to his damage output, or his nullify, or his shield health, or his protection health. No, not any of that, no. He got a card nerf. To a card that already got nerfed, and now it's even worse. Wind Dancer got nerfed from 10% at level 1 and 5% movement speed per tier to 7% at level 1 and 3% movement speed per tier. So at level 5 now, it's 20% movement speed for 2 seconds, given to the protection target. I mean, I guess at level 5 that's still a pretty decent boost, but it's a significant investment now to get that movement speed. I don't know. I probably just won't use this card, honestly. I really feel like Cryptic or someone at Evil Mojo watched my Vora guide, because they just buffed some of the cards that I called out for being terrible on Vora. And, well, hey, I'm all here for it. So, Vora got 3 card buffs. First 2 Broken Promises, this now scales at 100 per tier, up to 500 health for each enemy hit with Obliteration. That's pretty good. Unified in Purpose and False Idol, though, got some absolutely massive buffs. False Idol, as I'm sure you remember, was Vora's worst card, and I lambasted it for having terrible scaling. They have completely changed that. False Idol has gotten its movement speed increase from 5% to 7%, up to 35% at max. It got its life steal doubled, from 5% to 10%, bringing it up to 50% life steal at max. That's awesome. And they increased the duration from a paltry, pathetic 2 seconds to a massive 5-second duration. Okay. That's pretty awesome. Is it going to be worth using on Vora compared to some of our other cards? I don't know. I'd still venture probably no. But at least it's not a terrible F-tier throw pick now. Wow. Okay. Good job, Evil Mojo. And then also, they buffed Unified in Purpose. They actually pretty much reworked it. Before, it gave you a flat 10% damage reduction, and the duration scaled based on the level. So at level 5, you had 5 seconds of duration. Now, the duration is static at 3 seconds, but the damage reduction increases per level up to a maximum of 30% damage reduction, making this card a lot more potent. I'd say it's actually worth running this card now. 30% damage reduction is a lot, and it's consistent too. Dark Siphon has a 6-second cooldown, meaning you get 50% uptime on 30% damage reduction. That's pretty good. It's a shame, though. They're kind of making my Vora guide irrelevant already. I expected it to have a little bit more staying power than that. Gosh, guys, why do you gotta do this to me? Ah! Now, this has got to be the best balance change of the patch, besides keywords getting removed, of course. Willo has finally gotten the passive that she should have had from the start. The character, with giant butterfly wings, literally a fairy, could not hover in midair. She couldn't fly. She couldn't float. She couldn't do any of that. Well, guess what? Now she can. Look at this. Whee! She basically just stole Androxus's drift passive. And she can float now. This is huge for her levels of mobility and her effectiveness in the match. Because now Flutter just got so much more effective. You can hover in the air, and you can bombard from the skies, basically creating your own high ground, which is a massive deal for blasters, because they love to be on the high ground, right? So this is huge for Willo. And also, it obviously pairs very well with her ultimate, because we can go all the way up here, and just fly, 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 and then you can just float. Look at how long it takes me to reach the ground. Oh my gosh. I can fly. I can finally fly with the character that has wings. Ah. It's just perfect. This is the most reasonable passive for any character to have in the game. I mean, it just makes sense. It makes so much sense. I'm so happy to see this. This is seriously just the best. And this is going to make Willo really good when paired with the Blast Flower buff that she got last patch. I mean, bear in mind, that's doing a lot more damage now. Look at that. Up to 900 damage per shot. That's pretty dang good. So, yeah, this is just an excellent change, and I'm so happy to see it. Now, we had a bunch of really exciting and awesome balance changes, but just like how we started, we're going to end off with a really boring card change. So, Ying got her Disappear card reworked. This card used to provide increased movement speed while out of combat, just like Skye's card. Now it's been reworked, so you get 40% movement speed for 3 seconds when dropping to or below 30% health. And the scaling of the card changes the internal cooldown. So at level 1, it's a 30-second internal cooldown. At level 5, 10-second internal cooldown, which is pretty reasonable. So, will you see this card a lot? I don't know. Maybe as a level 1 filler. I don't know. We'll see how it gets used. But, yeah, I guess that's pretty cool considering the card was outdated. I don't know. And finally, we have a bunch of bug fixes. So most of these are just to do with the UI, and also updating most of the descriptions in the game. To be honest, I'm not sure why all of these descriptions are counted as bug fixes, and not just descriptions being changed. But yeah, there's a long list of description changes here. And yeah, some UI stuff as well. They fixed the starting credits in Practice Siege as well, although I don't think most people care about that. Fix some inconsistencies and UI bugs with Trials of the Realm, as well as with the general UI. And they also fixed some of the bugs with the item store, which I do actually want to take a look at here. So they fixed an issue where purchasing Arcane Warding caused armor plating's effectiveness to incorrectly diminish. Basically, you would incur diminishing returns on armor plating because you bought Arcane Warding, which was really weird. It wasn't supposed to work like that because they were applying damage reduction to separate things. But yeah, that's been fixed now, so that's excellent. Also, they fixed an issue where Arcane Warding was stacking additively with sources of damage reduction from cards, instead of having some amount of diminisher effect. So basically, Arcane Warding was having diminishing returns with the stuff that it wasn't supposed to. But the stuff that it was supposed to, it wasn't having diminishing returns. Yeah, they basically got it backwards, but that should be fixed now. And then also they updated the description of Morale Boost to clarify that it only affects base ultimate charge rate, not stuff like Sati's coin card, for example. Also, apparently the descriptions of a lot of fire rate increases were completely incorrect. So this section here pertains to updating the descriptions of these fire rate buffs to accurately convey their effect in-game. None of these are actually getting changed in terms of their in-game performance, right? It's not like Storm of Bullets, Tyros Ultimate, Cassie's Scout, etc. are getting buffed. No, these aren't buffs, these aren't balance changes. These are just description updates. But apparently, a lot of these buffs were way stronger than we originally realized. For example, Storm of Bullets was originally listed as a 40% fire rate buff. That's been updated to the correct value of 60%. So yeah, all of these, I mean, yeah, they were powerful, we knew that, but we didn't realize just how powerful they were in terms of the actual numbers, so these have been fixed. And then yeah, there are a bunch of description changes, and I'll just scroll through these. You can pause if you want to read them, or you can just go click on the patch notes linked in the description and read them yourself. I'm not going to read these because, yeah, we'd be here all day, and it's just, you know, we don't really care. They're going to be helpful in terms of more accurately conveying, yeah, what each ability does, right? They're cleaning up a lot of, I guess, discrepancies and confusion regarding how some abilities work, and adding in some effects that previously weren't listed in some of the descriptions where it's appropriate. And also, in some cases, they are making the descriptions shorter, because a lot of ability descriptions in this game are too long, and, well, yeah, that's a bit of a problem, right? You're trying to read and it's just like there's a whole book there. Yeah, not super fun. But, yeah, we've got, yeah, just so many updated descriptions for basically every character. There are a few bug fixes in here. We already went over the Imani ones. There's like this bug fix with Skye where her bomb will now destroy shields properly. Just some small bug fixes, but literally basically every one of these is just a description update. So, yeah. Also another, I guess, important bug fix. They fixed an issue where Resonance did not have an explosion radius even though it was listed on the talent. So they have fixed the explosion radius increase on Resonance. That's good. And then finally, we end off with Dawnforge, getting a bug fix. Damage immune champions, we're still taking damage from Dawnforge's star. That has been fixed. So, hey, there we go. Yay. But yeah, that's going to do it for the brand new Banners Fall update. So there are a lot of really spicy balance changes in this patch. And I'm starting to get concerned that I am Mr. Paladins because, like, it feels like a lot of the stuff that I've been talking about recently has just kind of manifested itself in this patch. Like, especially with the card changes. I talked about how, yeah, cards being stronger leads to more interesting playstyle diversity and more fun across the board. And then, I don't think a single card got nerfed this patch. Like, yeah, some scaling went down here and there, but they got buffed in other ways. And it's just like, wow, okay. Well, we just got a bunch of really high scaling cards to play with now. That's awesome. And yeah, a lot of these changes are really good too. Fernando, Raum, Willo, absolutely getting some incredible changes. Keywords being removed, that is fantastic. And in general, a lot of the, sorry, my voice is dying. A lot of the system changes as well to like aim assist, matchmaking, all of that looks to be fantastic as well. Like I said at the start though, the one thing I am kind of concerned about is that, yeah, there's basically no cosmetics this patch. I don't know how they plan to monetize this patch, apart from, yeah, I guess some of the newer players getting some of the skins that were previously unavailable to them because they were from really old battle passes, so I guess that's pretty nice. And you know what? I'm really looking forward to the new rank split, or the new ranked season, rather, and, yeah, I mean, these balance changes just look like so much fun to play. The map changes look awesome. This update seems pretty awesome to me. So, yeah, let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Oh, gosh. I got sick from, yeah, my IRL stuff, and I'm still recovering from that. My voice, I'm sure, has sounded off. I'm sure you've picked up on it by now. I'm still getting over it, and my voice is about to die. So, yeah. Let's make the outro short. Drop a like, subscribe, check out the Twitch channel. I'll be making a bunch of PTS content, publishing videos on YouTube, streaming on Twitch, so follow me there to make sure you don't miss out. And yeah, I will see you guys next time. Peace out.